Welcome to Running is Bullshit. I'm Amy.
Amy, let's have a full name for this, please.
I am Amy Cuthbert Genders.
And I'm Stewart Just Harding, and you're listening to the podcast that loves to hate running. Brand new name for Amy. Well done.
Oh, thank you.
And do we have to go with that three-named athlete thing now and call you ACG?
I mean, yeah, that would be fantastic. It's a long name now. I'm getting used to like seeing it on Facebook and stuff and thinking that's a really long pretentious name, but that's what I was going for. I love a good long double-barreled name.
Can we just go with ACG?
Yeah, go for it.
That's pretty good. Lovely wedding. I'm really glad that you invited me out of guilt. That was really nice.
We had to make up the numbers.
Yeah, that's fair. A quick rundown from a guest point of view. The bar was open and free and serve yourself. That was good. There was also tea, coffee, crisps on arrival. We actually joked on the way. We don't want champagne on arrival at a wedding. I want crisps on arrival. And that's what we had. There were cakes there. It was all there. Go and get it if you want it. The food was pizza. There was a pizza van. You just go and get pizza if you wanted it. And then you could just go and sit down if you wanted, or you could go outside if you wanted. And it was just like, do whatever the hell you want. Perfect kind of wedding. Ceremony, nice and short. Speeches, nice and short, straight to the point. Fantastic wedding, I've got to say.
Thank you. You know what? That's just what we were going for. And the great thing is, well, I suppose you like heterosexuals can do this as well, but like when you're doing like I hate using the term same sex, like a same sex wedding, you can sort of pick and choose the bits you want to do because there's no expectations. So like for instance, I wore a suit. Like I don't wear dresses, haven't worn dresses since I was about 3 years old. I look like a drag queen in them even though I'm a woman. It just doesn't look right. And like people were asking me before, they were like, oh, what are you gonna wear? And you wouldn't get that at like a heterosexual wedding. It's a
little bit of mystery. Is it gonna be double dress? Is it double suit?
Yeah, or like what are you gonna do with your name? Like not this assumption. So yeah, we picked the bits we wanted to keep, which were the traditional bits like the ceremony bit, but then the rest of it we really wanted it to be absolutely chilled out. Like people just do what they want to do, go home when you want to go home, like do whatever you want.
I mean, you guys left at 8 o'clock. That's perfect. I love that. Yeah, and it's like people will probably think, oh yeah, back to the hotel room. No, we were knackered. We had a shower and went to sleep. Legitimately, I was asleep at 9 o'clock at night. I was so tired. Yeah. Good for you. Well, just to fill everyone in, good wedding. Look forward to the next one. So anyway, this is episode 88.
Thanks.
Episode 88. We'll be talking all about hills, sheep, feet and horses. But before that, hasn't it been hot? Has anyone else had runs that sound like this?
Oh yeah, it's hot, isn't it? It is hot. Yeah, getting out early before it gets too hot. Oh, I've had plenty of water, thank you. Yeah, it's hot. Oh yeah, it's hot, isn't it? Oh yeah, it is hot. Yeah, it's hot. Yeah, don't worry, I got a cold beer waiting in the house. Yeah, ice bath as well. Yeah, faster than Mo Farah. Yeah, you don't need to go abroad, do you? You bloody can't anyway because of Brexit. You probably voted Brexit, you red-nosed prick. Oh, it's hot in there. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Cheers. London Marathon, is it? Yeah. No, I'm just out for a jog, yeah. All right. Oh, yeah, it's hot. It's really hot, yeah. Oh, I didn't expect it either. Yeah. Should have gone at night, yeah. Should have, yeah. You're right. All right. Oh, yeah, it's hot. It's really hot.
That is another video from Jimmy Watkins, the running punk. And I love that video. And I also hate it because I immediately thought, as soon as it started, I thought, I could have done that. Oh, that's the video I should have done. I assume we've all had runs like that over the past few weeks, in the UK at least. The worst thing for me is I've had a week off, but I've had to get up at 5:30 on the days we wanted to go and do things so we could drive out, do something before it gets too hot for William. And that is too early. Summer is bullshit.
Mate, that's too early. 5:30. Like I've set my alarm a few times to try and do that lately. And I used to be like a really early riser, but not anymore. It's interesting because Pippin's got very short hair, so she can cope with a bit more heat than other dogs with longer hair. And sometimes I don't take her out in the middle of the day when it's boiling hot, but I take her out in the morning when it's getting warmer. And people look at me like I'm abusing my dog. It's like, I know my own dog's, I know my own dog's limits. She's absolutely fine in this sort of heat. But yeah, the death stares I get like running with my dog in a certain amount of heat. I'm like, don't worry, I know what I'm doing.
Multiple pre-6 o'clock alarms have been too much for my week off work, Great.
Yeah.
Don't get to go to work, but I have to get up even earlier. But I've been having naps, so that's nice.
Oh, can't beat a good nap. Especially when it's hot.
Haven't been pulling as many all day as usual. We'll have a catch-up on the last episode. Vinay Menon answered the most important question we had last time, which is that he names his snakes based on characters in whichever book he's reading at the time.
I'd totally forgotten about this snake thing, and I was reading this sentence over and over again thinking, what does this mean? When I was reading through the show notes, and then I remembered it's about his nice dead snakes, or alive. Was it alive this
Live snakes, yeah.
Live snake that he named.
Last one's called Brent.
That's interesting. Yeah, Brent, that was it. What book was that from?
Can
people guess? Can people guess what book that was from?
In a running podcast, of course, we're talking about someone that names his snakes after book characters. That's just a normal thing, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. At Clarice Runs says, I will forever be calling my days at work all-dayers now. Nicola Ford was also a fan of the all-dayer. Yeah, I hate that. I hate when I actually have to be in work, because when I'm at home, I literally have a bed in my office. Not for that reason, it's meant to be for guests, but that is the reason. I will go to the bed and I will have a nap at lunchtime. But when I'm at work and you can't have a nap, that absolutely sucks. Proper all-dayer.
If that's a phrase that catches on from this podcast, if nothing else... I think I'll be fairly happy with that.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I won't be, because if nothing else, there's 88 fucking episodes. We've done a lot. At Gareth Mitch 210 says, eating bananas is bullshit. They are rats as food. Amazing in smoothies, but people that like eating bananas are wrong. So very wrong.
Rats as food.
that is a lot of anger aimed at a banana.
Yeah, people who don't like bananas are like that, though. They really hate bananas. I don't know what it is, but if you don't like bananas, you're firmly like a banana hater. I used to not like bananas when I was younger, and I could swear that I could taste them in, like, you know, when they used to thicken smoothies and stuff, and it's only a bit. I'm like, I can taste the banana in this. But now I do like bananas, not so fussed, but I get it. I've been in both camps, so I understand how it is.
Yeah, there are a few particular foods. Like, if you don't like tomatoes or something, people are, oh yeah, okay, no problem. But like, if you don't like, the classic is pineapple on pizza, people go fucking mental about it.
Mate.
I mean,
I love pineapple on
why?
pizza.
Yeah, but... And like, yeah, you're right. People who don't like bananas fucking hate bananas and anything to do with bananas, and that's really strange.
Yeah. I guess it's like quite a strong taste and an interesting texture. I mean, some people don't like texture.
So just don't eat them.
Yeah.
And shut up.
Don't hate on us. Lisa Gibbon says, this episode did actually make me want to try orienteering, but then I went to the website, clicked go orienteering, but couldn't understand the map. Shruggy emoji.
Yeah, probably not the one for you.
No.
Oh. Before we crack on with the rest of the episode, let's stop for tea. Ooh. This podcast is partnered with Bird and Blend Tea, and if you like the sound of what we're drinking, you can head to runningisbs.com/tea to click our links and grab that discount code Tea is not BS, which will get you free Bonfire Toffee tea with any purchase. Loads of you are still buying tea, which is amazing, and the most popular, quite comfortably, is Chocolate Digestive.
Good choice. That's a really good tea.
That is a solid choice. That is by far the favourite tea of our listeners. Good tea. Amy, what are you drinking at the moment?
I'm drinking Bell's Breakfast, which I didn't understand the name until Stuart informed me that it's Belle from Beauty and the Beast. I was really confused. So you might be able to guess from the title, which I couldn't guess from the name, that it's a rose tea. And then I was confused again, and then I clicked. I was like, oh yeah, the rose in Beauty and the Beast, and the petals are falling off. I get it. Too clever for me, Burn and Blend. Too clever for me. So yeah, there's a lot of black tea in this. So I make this like super weak. Like this is a 2 seconds with the water and then straight into my mug, because if you know me, I'm not a fan of like really tea that tastes like tea, really strong tea. You've got like Sri Lankan black tea, Kenyan black tea, Chinese black tea, all the black teas in there. And then rose petals. Despite like all the black tea, the rose is like really strong in it. You can really taste it, which I love. Love a good rose tea, but like I said, I have to be straight in and out with it, or else it's too strong.
Yeah, I do like this. It's really kind of sweet and fragrant, but not overly so, as we kind of usually say with these. It's kind of the taste is really strong, but it's not like, I don't think if you don't like sweet tea, I don't think it'll be too bad for you. Yeah,
definitely. The black tea like evens it out. So yeah. What are you drinking, Stuart?
I have got some red velvet tea, as you might imagine. That is like a red velvet cake. in a mug. And I gotta say, this is a really beautiful looking tea. I don't know how people take good photos of tea. I tried to do it a couple of weeks ago with this one, and it just doesn't work because my house is probably terrible. But when you pour it, it's like a really lovely deep red colour. And if you put milk in it, like I like to do, it kind of turns really bright pink, like almost like a strawberry milkshake. It looks fantastic. And if you've got a nice glass mug, that's really nice. So this is black tea again, and it's got a lot of beetroot in. It doesn't taste of beetroot. That's just what gives it the lovely colour. Some cocoa shells, which gives it a kind of chocolatiness as well, like a red velvet cake. And then some other bits and pieces, some petals and cornflowers and vanilla, just to kind of sweeten it and make it taste like a piece of red velvet cake. I don't really know what a red velvet cake is now I think about it, but I kind of know that kind of basic taste, and that's what it is in a mug. It's a very good tea, and it looks
I do really
amazing.
like it. Yeah, I do really like red velvet. I keep meaning to get some lemonade and try a cold brew and lemonade with it. I think it might be quite a nice one.
That'll be a nice one. Head to our website and pick up some teas. Let us know what you think. If you're drinking any other teas from Burn Blend or anywhere else, let us know. We like to know about the interesting one because there's so many on there. We can't try them all, so we want your tips as well.
Definitely.
Amy, what have you been up to other than getting married?
Like I said, got married. Just did it. Got married, no big deal. I did a pre-wedding day shakeout run, of course.
Yeah.
You know.
Get those nerves out.
Yeah, exactly. So a friend of the show, Jen Danger Harding, came and picked me up about, I think it was about 8 a.m. On the day, and we went to Wentwood Forest, which wasn't really that far away from us where I was staying. Really beautiful place. I'd never been there before, but I know Jen does a lot of runs around there, and it was absolutely perfect for running because it had some what are they called? You know, like the fire roads, you know, the gravelly roads that go through the forest, really wide. So we ran on some of them, but also there's trails going off the roads. So like there's a bit more technical trail to it. Absolutely perfect. We went up this massive hill, and Jen will probably email in and say what it was called, but she took me up a big fuck off hill. Felt like I was going to die, and it wasn't helped by the fact that I had a full English breakfast at the hotel before we went on this run. So basically, so this breakfast is worth 20 quid. Obviously I got it with the room, it's included in the room, but still that's 20 quid's worth of breakfast. So you better believe I'm going down there and I'm eating it, and I had to have it before the run because breakfast was 7 till 10. So I had to have it between 7 and 8 because by the time we'd gone for our run, I had to be back helping with last minute setting up of the venue, so I couldn't have it afterwards. So and I thought, I'm not going, or I'm not going down and just having some cereal. Like, who do you think I am? So I had a full-on breakfast. I had like 3 vegetarian sausages. I had beans. I had roasted tomatoes. I had like 3 slices of toast. I had what else did I have? Oh, I had like cooked mushrooms, which is always very, very dangerous for me. There was an incident on a train a few years ago after cooked mushrooms, and I left something very explosive at Bristol Parkway. I'll just say that. So yeah, cooked mushrooms, always dangerous for me, but they were absolutely amazing. And I had like a whole like pot of tea, glass of water, and 2 glasses of orange juice. And Legend. I finished it. So it wasn't like a buffet style breakfast. You had to wait for people to serve you. So by the time I was served, it was like 7:30, and I literally finished eating at 8 o'clock, and Jen was outside the hotel. So yeah, that it wasn't ideal, but I did keep the breakfast in. I ran up a massive hill, and I did I think it was just over 6-mile run, and it was absolutely fine. It was good ultra training.
I went to that very forest this morning. It's very nice there.
Did you? Oh, yeah. It's really, really nice. And Jen was saying, like, her family lives only about a mile away, so when she visits them, she gets to go running there. And it was just, I was like, this is amazing. But very enjoyable. But then I was, like, hungry for the rest of the day for the wedding. And because I was so busy getting married and shit, I hardly got to eat any of the wonderful food you were talking about. So I was there when the caterers delivered the cakes and stuff. And I really because I was hungry at that point, because by then it was sort of about 1 o'clock. And I was really hungry, and I thought, I could probably, when I saw them delivering it, I thought I could probably get a cake before everyone else does. But the way they'd organised it on the trays was perfect, like perfectly symmetrical and lined up. You couldn't take one. And there was these amazing donuts, and I really wanted a donut, but he'd organised them so nicely. If I took one, it would be really noticeable. So I couldn't take them. And I was so busy throughout the day, I didn't get any of the cakes. I had a few slices of pizza that someone brought to me, but also at the end we were giving away pizza because the caterers just made the pizza and put it to one side and said, oh, any extra you can just take. Forgot to take the pizza, so I was sat back at the hotel room, tired and starving. So I was a bit
we left with a pizza, 4 slices of wedding cake and a bottle of wine.
Oh.
Again, great wedding.
Yeah, I missed out on all that. Bloody getting married. So that was my wedding day, which it was amazing. I really recommend going for a run in the morning before your wedding, just a pre-wedding shakeout run. And then yesterday I did the Black Mountains 13K, which was by Trail Events Company, however they're calling themselves. Originally, so me and Jen Danger Harding, dream team. We were looking for like some races to do because obviously we've got this ultra in November and we need to start training because it's at Pennie Way and it's going to be really hilly. We've been looking for sort of trail races to do over the next few months to sort of build up our elevation. So we were going to do the half marathon for this, and I'm so glad we didn't. We decided to go for the 13K instead. I'm so glad we didn't, because I found the elevation challenging in the 13K. And I think that was only just under 2,000 feet, 500 and something meters, I think, for the 13K.
Yeah.
And I think the half was like double that. So it was actually looking at the elevation that stopped me doing the half. I was like, this seems like a bit too much. I'm glad I was.
And of course, a trail half is always at least 15 miles.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I'm quite glad, because I was struggling with the 13K, to be quite honest, at the beginning. I say I was struggling at the beginning. It was that sort of feeling, because it was like up and then back down again, kind of. There was mainly up and then back down with a bit of up, but mainly back down in the second half. So like for the first 4 miles, I was struggling. And in my head, I was thinking, that's it, I'm going to have to walk this whole fucking race. What's the point? But I will say, second half, I was like, my calves were absolutely fine. I felt absolutely brilliant, doing a good amount of running for the second half. So I was quite pleased, like, how quickly I managed to recover from it. But yeah, so it was a bit of a pricey race. I can't remember how much the full amount was. I think it was like, I'm trying to think now, like 30 something pounds for a 13K. I just it was a bit pricey, but it was absolutely brilliant. So and I can understand where the money's going to, in terms of safety, in terms of securing, like, I mean, the roads are open, but like the land permissions or whatever they might have needed, I don't know. Yeah. But no, I definitely thought, when I did it, I thought it was worth the money. Before I did it, I was like, this seems a bit expensive, but definitely worth the money. Amazing route that they chose. Loads of fantastic views. It was challenging, but not, like I said, not too challenging. You felt like you'd done a good amount of work, but you weren't traumatized afterwards. We also got 0.8k added on at the end for free, which was fantastic. Bonus. All of which was uphill. Really loved that. There was also a really generous cut-off time. So the 13k started at, I think it was 10:30, and the cut-off time was 7 p.m. So it was, you were going to get it done, and it welcomed walkers as well, because obviously you could walk that in the cut-off time. Lots of signs as well, so it was really hard to get lost, even for me. So they had lots of arrows, even on like farmers' land. They'd ask permission from the farmers, and they put loads of arrows up in fields and stuff, which is really useful. One farmer had taken all the signs down, which wasn't ideal, but we were given really clear instructions at the briefing which way to go, and it was pretty obvious once you got there, because you could see where the farmer had literally knocked the signs down. So yeah, that was really fantastic. I'd heard, I don't know whether this is true, but I heard last year when they did the same event, lots of people had gotten lost. So I reckon, because it is the route is quite tricky. So I reckon after people getting lost last year, they've just been really, really on it with the signs. It was the perfect amount for someone like me. There was loads of them, so that was fantastic.
It's the Black Mountains, isn't it? So I guess a lot of it's quite open.
It is, yeah. But there's also, at the same time, there was a lot of like very sharp turns you had to take, and turns where, for somebody who's crap at navigation like me, it felt like you were going the wrong way, because you get really, races like that, you get really disorientated, and you think, oh, yeah, of course, it's straight down this road, but actually you're going almost back on yourself sometimes. It looked like it anyway. So yeah, and like I said, what really helped was those farmers who did give permission to put signs up on their land, because it was over a lot of farmland. So that was fantastic. The other great thing is that they liaised with the farmers who, for our route at least, moved the cows from the fields. So we didn't come across any livestock apart from sheep, I'm not bothered about sheep anyway, as we all know. They just need to be more bothered about me. And there were some lovely, I don't know whether they're Welsh ponies a thing, but there was like ponies, like little horses in one of the fields. And again, they stayed well away, and they were so small, they were kind of like sheep. Like I could have taken one down, I reckon.
Of course.
So yeah, that was great, because that's my main thing with these sort of races, cows. I don't want to be in a field of cows or big aggressive type horses. So that was really great on our route, because I could see like fresh cow poo in places. So it's obvious that those fields were used for cows, and the farmers had kindly moved them across to another field, which is fantastic. So, and then also it's dog friendly. And I didn't take Pippin this time because I didn't know what it was going to be like, but it was such a small field of runners for the races. We saw the half marathon go off before us. And I think it must have been about like 30 people at the most who did that race. And then for ours, there was probably like 15 to 20 people. And we were running on our own for most of it. So I think it would definitely be a good race for Pippin, who's a bit more wary about crowds of people and stuff. I think the only thing is some of the terrain is a bit tricky. So I'd be a bit worried about her pulling me over. But for the most part, like I think it'd be a really good race to take your dog. And it just made me realise I need to do a lot more hill training, because I was absolutely dead. And there's going to be a really great picture of me. The only official photographer who was out on the course was like at this massive, like at the top of this massive hill. So I had to just make an effort to try and run. And I was like, get ready, because I'm going to run and then take my picture. So I had to make the effort to try and run up this hill. I'm like, why couldn't you have been on like a downhill bit where it would have looked really great and like I was actually a runner?
Not as fun.
No. But Black Mountain's 13k by trail events, absolutely fantastic. I thought really well organised. People were really lovely. All the volunteers were super, super friendly and nice, and great route.
Yeah, well, I was there as well, because Holly was doing the marathon distance. I'll come to that. But yeah, you're right. Trail Events Company, this is the second one that she's done as well, and they seem to get it. They seem to be... I know they're one of these companies that kind of move around the country and kind of, they come in the Black Mountains, they'll do Exmoor, and they'll do lots in different places, but they seem to do a really good job. They look after runners well. They do good briefings, good kit checks, which I think a lot of people kind of skip out. And I said, yeah, really well signposted races. A little bit expensive, but I think they are pretty good. I might try one of their halves at some point, because that looks quite fun.
Definitely, yeah.
Just to speak about perhaps Holly then quickly, she did the marathon distance and got her first DNF. Yeah. Well, sensible decision. She basically got on top. She got 15 miles in. I think at this point it was 13 miles in, was on top of a mountain, really exposed, and got absolutely smashed by a hailstorm. And just had to like hide in one of these little kind of, they build kind of little walls, these kind of little cairns sometimes at the top of the hills. She basically had to huddle inside that to get all her wet weather gear out, put that on, even though she's already soaked and freezing. And for her, once she's not having fun, she's like, yeah, that's enough. That's enough for me. I don't need to run this race. I don't need to finish it. I don't need to run for another 3 hours if it's going to rain more. And so she got to the next checkpoint and just said, no, I want to finish there. And actually 2 other people got to the same point and said the same thing. And they got a lift back to the start in an ambulance car, which was... Yeah. It was good for me, because when I got back to the car park, I thought I could sit there. I should be able to see you and Jen finish, wait a couple of hours, wait for Holly to finish. As soon as I pulled up, I got a message saying, I'm in the ambulance car, lol. I was like, oh shit. So that was fun. But it means I don't have to wait around. So perfect for me as well.
And she saw us as well. We saw the ambulance. It was like a 4x4 type thing, wasn't it? Like went by. And I was like, Jen was like, do you think that's for our race? And I said, yeah, somebody's probably fallen over or something, on the terrain. But we were I think at the 4 mile mark, like halfway through when that rain and hail hit, and it was atrocious. And like for us, because we were lower down and our race was shorter, it was bordering between being refreshing rain and also we were getting really cold, and it stopped in time for us not to get too cold. And like I said, by that point we only had sort of less than 4 miles to go, but I can imagine if you were on top of the mountain and you'd already run 13 miles, that would have been horrendous. Yes,
it's one of those things of, again, you don't mess with mountains, it can change so quickly, because I guess probably soon after that for you as well, it was hot. When you're in the direct sun again, it got hot again. So it's really changeable. Yeah, you don't fuck about in mountains. And yeah, if you don't feel like you need to finish, you don't need to finish. So I think that was a good decision from her and useful for me. And As for the rest of the last couple of weeks, you know what, Amy? I haven't even done one race.
Oh my God.
Not even one.
Jeez.
Oh yeah, I've done really well to not do any races for a change. That was nice. Actually, while Holly set off to do that race, I thought, right, what I need to do, because we're in the Black Mountains, there's sheep everywhere because it's all open land. I have a sheepdog, so it's very difficult to run in those kind of places, and a little bit too warm when the sun was out to have him on a canicross harness. So I drove for a fucking hour to get to a forest, which wasn't very far away, but I had to drive all the way around on them little shitty single lane country roads, which just stressed me out the whole weekend. An hour to get to a forest, to go for a run, because in a forest shouldn't be sheep. And I've been looking on the map to look for some interesting routes, because you mentioned fire roads earlier in forest. I fucking hate them. So I followed a path that had been added to OpenStreetMap and is on Strava. And I got there, it's not a fucking path. And I'm really pissed off by it. I'm going to change the map after this because it's pissed me off. It's basically, it was along like a little piece of, I think like an old piece of terracing in the forest. There was kind of a slightly flattened part on a slope that went up the hill. And it was completely overgrown. There's no sign anyone had ever walked there. And then the map just did a sharp right up a massive slope of hill. And like there was like a 2 or 3 foot bank to get to this slope anyway, and then it was just straight up through pine trees. Because I think it's like part of it's a massive managed pine forest. So you kind of can go between the rows of trees, but that's not a path. And so I got pissed off. I was spending ages just bushwhacking through all this shitty forest, and I got to a fire road, and I was actually really happy to see one. Which is bad for me because it means I must have been in a bad place. And so I basically had to just completely change my route from there because I thought, well, I don't trust the rest of the route that I've set for myself because I think it used a lot of this route that someone's put on the map, which shouldn't be there. So I had to change it and basically just ran on fire roads. And you know what? There were sheep in the forest. Absolute dickhead sheep, like a month ago, just loose in the forest. And because when William's running with me, he runs quite far ahead. And then the thing is, if he sees a sheep, he bolts. And there's very little I can do about it. I had to sprint after him at one point. Now, he doesn't get too close to the sheep. He's not, he doesn't want to attack the sheep. It's just if they run, he wants to chase. I can call him back eventually, but it's quite stressful. So that just made it just a really generally stressful run. I was on paths I didn't want to be on. I wasn't really up for it. I had to really kind of keep an eye on William and hold him on the lead sometimes. And he's just yawned behind me. Sorry, I'm going on about things. He knows I'm talking about him, so he's just come to see me. It's fine. Okay, go away. And yeah, it was just like 13k, and I got to the last few k and just couldn't be bothered, and I was just walking because I was well, I'll just get back to the car now and just finish and get back to see you guys finish, and hopefully you've had a worse time, but you all seem to quite enjoy it, so that's a shame.
Yeah. If you'd have met us when we were going up the mountain, well, not up the whole mountain, but up the hills, then yeah, that
would have been funny. I should have been standing with that photographer.
Oh God, yeah.
Hill training for Amy needs to happen.
I know.
I'll find you some good hills.
Thanks. I hate it so much. I hate it so much. But also, I love doing races like that. So I've got to do it.
But the thing, like those massive steep hills, you just walk and you take. It's not a race hard. Up a hill. You can just have a lovely slow walk up the hill. It takes a while, but it's worth it because you get, especially in the Black Mountains, incredible views.
Yeah, it was. It was absolutely beautiful. Like I've never been to the Black Mountains before, so it was and like I said, the route they chose was so lovely to see everything.
Yeah, I think the Brecon Beacons kind of gets a lot of the attention because it's higher, but the views aren't as good because the views you have are of kind of other mountains and lots of kind of scrubland. But Black Mountains is surrounded by farmland quite a lot as well, so that kind of looks amazing because it's all like green fields rolling into the distance. Yes, lovely place to go. And also, we had a quick walk up a Sugarloaf Mountain as well. Cannot wait to go back there for a run. That is a brilliant place for a run. That looks really, really nice. Anyway, let's get straight into our interview for this week. So with all the chat we have about mega ultras and big FKT attempts, our guest this episode is a junior doctor as well as ultra crew to the stars, Nicki Lygo. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Very nice that you have me on. Thank you.
No problem at all. Now, before we get to some of the big stuff and the crew stuff, a little bit about you. We can see your background. So are you a runner yourself?
No. I've dabbled.
Great start.
I've dabbled. I think the longest distance I've ever run was a half marathon, but it was an absolute cheat because I was on some medication, some steroid medication. So yeah, really no. I mean, I previously was very, very comfortable, kind of 5k, but not I would never have put myself in the runner bracket. No,
Even
I'm
though
a walker.
you run a half marathon, but you're not a runner.
No, I didn't do it as an event though. I just did it
Okay.
in an incredibly slow, ungainly fashion by myself. I do everything by myself. The only events really, yeah, I've done lots of walking though. That's my big thing is walking in the hills. Yeah, that's my background.
Okay, and you've done some of the big paths up there as well, because you're in Yorkshire.
No, I'm actually in Leicestershire now.
Oh, okay.
I grew up in Yorkshire, and I've done my kind of introduction to trails was with the Pennie Way, and that's really how my route into the running world came about, because I did the Pennie Way, walked it, made a complete hash of it, if I'm honest. Then at the end of it, wrote a blog, ended up in conversation with Damian on Twitter, because he's a little bit of a Pennie Way enthusiast, wrote the guidebook, etc. I took his guidebook with me on that first Pennie Way, and in conversation he mentioned the spine to me, and I had no idea what the spine was, and I followed it. I dot watched it at the next available opportunity after he told me about it, and I think, like a lot of people, I just was absolutely addicted to watching these, because they cease to be dots. When you see all the info on social media, they cease to be dots. They're not just these anonymous little blobs. You hear about the athletes and you start to become really invested from afar in their success. And then I asked if I could go along and volunteer, and then did that. And because my job was all at the front end of the race, I had the relative privilege really of seeing all of these runners who are, elite runners really, who just obviously, the approach to the spine race is very much kind of expedition rather than race per se. It's all about, can you look after yourself for 50 miles between checkpoints, in the dark, in the ice and the snow, on the hill. And so it's not quite the same as your average hill race, but I was always seeing the front end, and the front end really do race it. And that's how I ended up, meeting some of the guys that I've subsequently supported on record attempts. So my route into it was via walking quite badly. And it was all then a baptism of fire. And I don't think I would have been doing what I was doing had it not been for the pandemic, and everyone went, shit, there are no events. Yeah. And so everyone just went, well, let me see what I can run faster than anyone's run it before. And that's really where my kind of my support stuff, I suppose, kind of blossomed, because before I was doing it in a massive team in the spine, although my role at the front was quite a small team. It was just 2 or 3 of us. But so that was where it all that was where I had to really kind of put my money where my mouth was in terms of being able to look after somebody running a long way. Yeah,
well, that's a real harsh introduction then, just like to get right to the front of one of the biggest races in the UK. Before we kind of go on that part of it, I'd love to know how you messed up your walk on the Pennie Way, because you still completed it.
I did.
We always want to hear the bad stories.
I did. Oh, do you know what? I messed it up. So I messed it up by, I didn't really train, or I tried to train, but then a month before I set off, I'd injured my knee. When I say injured my knee, now, many hundreds or thousands of miles down the line, I wouldn't really have called it an injury, but it just persistently hurt quite a lot when I was walking. And so I decided to sack it all off. And then it was only 2 or 3 days before the time came to leave that I went, you know what, I've already booked my leave. I should just shut up and get on with it. And it was a charity fundraiser thing. So because of that, I felt like I was really needed to step up. But I had no idea about the gear. So I had like a waterproof that was a little bit too big for me, wasn't particularly waterproof anymore. I didn't even know at the time that you had to kind of retreat things. So it would absolutely piss it down with rain, as is the Pennie Way's, forte. And it would I'd be wet through to my underwear. There was literally no point in having the waterproofs on. And I had a pack that was insanely big, badly packed. So, there was heavy. It was just ridiculous. I often refer to myself as an elderly DofE student. When you see the DofE students and they've got these massive, you can hear the tins rattling in their pack. I was like that. Yeah. And just overladen, undertrained, hadn't recce'd anything. I had no idea what the Pennie Way was. I just kind of knew what Edale, I knew it started in Edale, I knew it went to Scotland. That was it. so I just kind of dragged myself along, and some parts of it, and I know to most people who listen to your podcast, this will sound insane because of what you all do, but I was actually scared is probably too big a word, but really apprehensive with some parts of it. Like, you know, I just remember going up Cross Fell, which is the highest point on the Pennie Way, and walking into the cloud line and just thinking, God, you know, I felt like I was going into the unknown. Yeah. Now, I mean, I've done the Pennie Way many times since then, and sometimes on an up and back kind of double, and now it just doesn't seem such a big deal, but then it was an enormous deal for me. Yeah.
Oh yeah, well there's still plenty of bits. I'm sure there are plenty of sections of that where a healthy bit of fear is probably a good thing, because there are some scary ridges around.
Yeah, I mean there's no ridge per se on the Pennie Way. It's all relatively, well, there's a couple of places where there's a little bit you know, in the fog and the mist that you
very isolated.
Yeah, it is. And there's a lot of bleak sections where it's just moorland going on. I mean, I quite like that, but I mean, I'm not, you know, it's not an easy trail. And everyone I know who's walked it, whether they've done it in 17 days or they've done it on the spine in 7 days, everybody seems to have a real euphoria and a big sense of achievement when they get to the end of it. And I have a lot of respect for anyone who does it. So I'm not undermining the fact that I found it difficult. I'm not trying to undermine how hard it is. And certainly on the spine, I mean, that's just nuts what they have to do. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think you're right. A bit of healthy kind of respect for the environment that you're in and what can go wrong isn't a bad thing, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. So somehow from that, where you say a terrible attempt at the Pennie Way, I mean, you still completed it and you kind of wrote about it. Damian Hall got in touch with you and you ended up helping him out when he went to do the FKT.
Yeah, so I initially, John went out and did it first. So Mike Hartley's record had stood for, I think, 31 years, and there'd been many attempts to break it, no one had. And then, of course, the pandemic came along. Everyone was kind of trained and ready for events that then didn't happen. And John Kelly, who I don't think needs any introduction, but, you know, American, you know, relatively good runner, had come over from the States and was living over here. And he decided to go for the record. And I'd met him because he'd done the spine race and won the spine race. So I'd been looking after him up the trail on that. And he then just got in touch and said, would you be interested? And I was like, yeah, I'll be interested. I didn't know at the time that I was going to be the only person doing it. I mean, thank God for a section in the middle. A very good friend called Sharon Dyson came along with her van and sort of did a little chunk in the middle with me. But beyond that, I mean, obviously there were pacers and everything, but from a road support point of view, I was on my own. And John's very scientific and specific about the way he approaches things. And I remember the night before being in Eden and just going through his stuff. And he's telling me how many, you know, calories he wanted per hour and what percentage needed to be protein and all these different mixes and powders and all this sort of stuff. And I just remember thinking it'll be an absolute miracle if this is not a shit show, if I don't feed him some, I don't know, powder in the wrong liquid or the wrong whatever. We didn't get it wrong. I didn't get it wrong, but he did have a really, really difficult time because he developed this gut bleed. And honestly, to this day, I don't know how he made it up that trail, but he did, and he broke the record by just over half an hour, I think 34 minutes or something. And then Damian, I was already kind of booked in I wasn't booked in to help him, actually, that's not true. He had his crew already booked in, and I'd sort of said, you know, can I come out? I was a bit sort of bolshy. He went, can I come out? I'm a bit of a fan of the trail and blah, blah, blah. And he went, yeah, you can come out. There's a bit of a misunderstanding here. He's written his book. He thought I meant, can I pop out at some point? Well, I rocked up at the beginning. I rocked up at Kirk Yetton. And then, I mean, I'd gone along to look after his crew. So, like, I know what it was like. You don't sleep, you don't drink, you don't eat because everything's constantly busy. So I went along and I essentially made his crew cups of tea and went off and got bits of shopping and all that kind of thing. And then sort of when they were sleeping or whatever, I picked up the reins, and then obviously helped him on 2 or 3 things now. So
right, so you've been crew and you've been crew to the crew. It's fantastic. It's a good experience.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about that, you mentioned a couple of the little things and pieces you do there. And, we hear about big FKT attempts because they're kind of more popular now, I say, after the pandemic. And I think they're getting a bit more press, some of these bigger ones now as well. They get a bit more media attention. And we hear about people having crew with them. So we just want to hear a bit about what exactly the job of the crew is. I'm sure it changes each time, but kind of in general terms, why do runners need a crew for a start? And what kind of things are you doing for them?
So I think the job's quite specific and broad at the same time. So the bottom line is, in my view, when someone is running, it doesn't really matter what they're running, but it needs to be a long, an endurance run. When they're running, there will come a time when simply putting one foot in front of the other is all that they have reserves to do. And you need to be there to fill in absolutely everything else, so that all they have to do is put one foot in front of the other. So you need to make sure that they never have to worry about whether you will be where you need to be when you need to be there. They never have to worry about whether or not you will have their soft flasks prepped with the right fluids that they want for the next section, that it's adequate for the next section, because it changes depending on how long the section is, how arduous the section is, etc. They want to know that you've got a variety of foods, and that's almost never just what they've brought with them. That this as well as anybody, that you will start off with a plan, and the only thing you can guarantee is that you will not stick to that plan, because you'll get halfway in and you'll be going, all my food is shit, I can't stand any of it. Mm-hmm. And you won't be able to get any of it down, whether it's just because you don't fancy that food or you physically can't get it down. So it's to have that kind of adaptability and flexibility to be able to go, well, he or she needs to fuel, and whatever they've got currently isn't doing the trick. So be able to just think about what you think might fill the gaps. They've gone off sweet stuff because it's hurting their mouth. Okay, we're going to go savoury. We know that they're not swallowing anything particularly solid, so we're going to go soups or whatever, and you just adapt to that. And I think as long as you've got those generic things, so that you're where you need to be when you need to be, and that you're prepared to be flexible, and you understand the brief, you understand what the runner is going through to an extent. You don't have to have done it, just like whatever, a cancer doctor doesn't have to have had cancer. You don't have to have gone through that they're going through, but you do need to understand what it is.
Yeah, it's very much the admin part of the run. They can get the running done and you can get all the other bits done for them.
Yeah, exactly. And kit as well. So, you know that section they're coming up to has got a climb. You know that they can say beforehand, at this point, I want my poles, for example. You have to make sure that they fully trust you, and they know they don't have to go, have I got my poles? Because they can't think about all that stuff. They're just running. If you get to day 2, day 3 of something, you everything goes.
Yeah, day 2 or day 3 sounds mad to me. I still can't quite get over that. What kind of strategies do you have for dealing with runners? Because obviously, as you say, once they get days into an event, is it just a case of you just tell them what to do and you put them in a chair and you take socks off them and that kind of thing, force food on them, or do you have to be kind of nice to them and goad them into things?
Well, so that varies. That varies from runner to runner. So I've seen times with John towards the end of a run where a lot, day 2, 3 sort of thing, where for him, he really does, everything shuts down. And I remember the first time he ran into a road crossing, it was like, what do I do? And I remember thinking, wait, what? John Kelly's asking me, that middle-aged DV, like Pennie Way woman, what to do, and it's just because everything's gone, it kind of closes down and he just runs. So there are times when, yes, you literally do everything. I mean, Damian's less so, apart from on the coast to coast when he had absolutely no idea because he was unwell with this whole sodium problem. So he then also needed us to just to tell him what was happening and what to do. But mostly that just really does depend on the length of the run, the runner, and what their kind of character is like.
Thank you very much to Gabby and Aya for doing our research for us and suggesting we speak to Nicki. That one has definitely paid off, and we'll hear more from Nicki later on. If you want to support this podcast, it is quick, easy, and most importantly, unnecessary. So head to patreon.com/runningisbullshit. Follow the links from our website. You can give us £2 a month, or you can cancel giving us £2 a month, because prices for everything are shit at the moment. So please do not hesitate to cancel if you're feeling the pinch at the moment. We've got one new name this week, so welcome to Raymond Quinn, and everyone else who donated this month are...
Karen Blay, Elizabeth Shaban, Claire Dina, Bernadette McCarthy, Ivor Hewitt, Stuart Stevens, Liz Reese, Sam Whaley, Matt Garner, Gordy Thirlwell, David Irwin, Maria Wickstrick Sky, Simon Grimshaw, Drew Edwards, Shambolic Adult, Amanda E. Hernandez, Victoria Dick, Len Martin, Steph Hall, Sophie Jacks, Hugh Phillips, Penny Simpson, Colin Hill, Clark Gilmore, Andy Robbins, Kurt Shepherd, Matt Newbury, Greg Collins, Matt Jones, Violet Greb, Elliot Lind, Amanda Marie Hind, Charlie Neverson, Nikki Genders, Anthony Howe, James Lampert, Sherry Grubbs, Lisa Gibbon, Paul Hibbert, Angela Foster Swales, Matt Jazowski, Victoria Magnus, A.H., Jonathan Carter, Karen Hamilton, Ruth K.P., Brian Simpson, Raymond Quinn, Gail Seal, Julia Page, Cassie Jones, Rachel Bentley, Hellrider, Ian Hales, Gabriel Thomas Nyer, Catherine Benton, Jay Carl Fleming, Ian Thompson, Pat Everett, Matt Reese, Martin Kaplan, Debbie Hurley McCaffin, Jason Spink, Matt H.A.P. Neil Denton, Matthew Watt, Max McHarding. Don't forget to get in touch with your running bullshit on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Running is BS and let us know why you particularly hate running this week, which is exactly what Rachel Bullmore did, who said, I wanted to share my running BS. Friday, I went running at 6:30 and got sunburn, my fault. Went this morning at the same time but wearing sunblock. 1 kilometre into the run, I sweat and get sunblock in both eyes. Now burning and watery, can hardly see. Had to end route early. Sad-faced emoji. Oh, I hate that.
That's such a shit reason to end a run. It's understandable, but it's such a shit reason.
Oh, mate, on that, in the Black Mountains, it started raining and it was like, I never wear sunblock because I'm silly, but it was washing the sweat into my eyes and I legitimately couldn't see. I had, just in one eye, I had like one eye closed the whole time while it was raining. Ugh.
I think sometimes I would rather get sunburn than wear sun cream because it pisses me off so much because I hate the smell of it. I hate you have to rub it, your hands and your face is then sticky for ages. I mean, I know suntan is really bad. I know sunburn is really bad, obviously. But I just fucking hate putting sun cream on. The technology needs to be improved. We need a better solution than rubbing shitty cream all over ourselves that stinks.
Yeah, definitely.
The Montaigne Spine Race started last week and may well still be going. I've no idea. It's too far for me to think about. Gabby Nair ran the sprint version and tweeted us she had no BS to report and she loved it all. 3-week ban for Gabby. The race organisers have been sharing that the percent of women running the sprint this year was 47%, which is great and everything, but they also use the line, who runs the world? Which, judging by the stat they posted, was men.
Yeah, still majority men are running it. Even though it's a small majority, it's still the majority.
I get what you're saying, but who runs the world is possibly not the greatest thing to use there, because statistically, it's not who you're trying to say it is. They did say the percentages for the other races as well, and it was 33% women for the medium and 20% for the whole thing. But they are increasing year on year.
At iBike Heathfield said, right, I'll tell you what is BS. Carefully, slavishly, cautiously following a rehab plan for 3 months after a calf muscle tear at 8 miles into a road half to have the other calf go the first time I go to parkrun in years. For fuck's sake.
Oh,
This is why you don't do parkrun. Dangerous.
You'd be saying that. Just the other one to go. Well, at least you know what the rehab plan is.
Yeah.
So that's handy. You've saved yourself a few quid on physio, probably.
Yeah, just do the same thing.
Just do the same thing. 3 months. Probably happen again, but, you know. We'll see. Or perhaps it was the rehab plan. Perhaps you didn't do it. Perhaps you did it too carefully.
Yeah.
Perhaps you should have just started running again after 3 weeks like the rest of us would have done. And you would have been fine.
Yeah.
And you would have just had minor pain for 3 or 4 years instead. That's what everyone else does.
Yeah.
Emma Hollingdrake messaged us to say, I've recently walked 100 kilometres in 2 days, carrying all my stuff in a rucksack, and my feet are destroyed. I may never walk or run long distance again. Photos attached. Sorry, Emma.
Oh.
Amy, I've just added the photos just now, and this is the first time you have seen them.
This is disgusting. Sorry, Emma, but this is like, what is going on with your little toe? It looks like you've got gangrene.
Yeah, that is black toe. Oh, the blister on that heel is a good inch across. There's a lot of skin coming off the sole there.
Gross.
There's so many patches of skin hanging off. Oh, you perhaps did not have the right shoes.
Emma, why were you walking 100 kilometres in 2 days anyway? Carrying all your stuff in a rucksack?
Oh, I did reply to her and I said, but the time I saw this message, which was about 12 hours after she'd sent it, she'd probably already signed up to another event. And yes, she's looking at a 50 miler in October and is doing the 3 Peaks in August. What is wrong with us as runners?
God, Emma, just maybe look at your shoes and your socks. Just sort that out first.
I mean, in just 2 days, that's very impressive.
Yeah,
amount of damage. But thank you so much for sending those photos.
We've had an email from Raymond Quinn, our latest Patreon, who ran the Trail Pursuit Half Marathon in 6.5 hours and enjoyed the post-event video he received from them saying what a great event it was, which is what we talked about last episode in terms of how terrible that event was. And I'm assuming, Raymond, that 6.5 hours is a lot longer than you normally run a half marathon. Yeah. So moving on from that with some properly petty bullshit, he said, people stealing your hill is bullshit. During the winter months, trying to find a hilly street which has all the elements needed for hill repeats is a tricky task. The hill needs to be long enough, quiet enough that you can run on the road, have street lighting in the winter, and most importantly, not have any houses fronting onto it where people living there will think you are either mad or checking their house to burgle later. I did find such a hill within about a mile of my home and was delighted at this find and was out there regularly on a Tuesday night. Then, one Tuesday, I was at the top of the hill, jogging down, when this bloke appears at the bottom, mulls around a bit, then starts horsing up the hill, my hill, doing his own hill repeats. Obviously, there's only one thing to do when somebody like-minded appears and cohabits your training space. I moved onto a shittier hill with houses either side and finished the session there. The guy was clearly fitter than me, and I don't need reminding of that. I had the last laugh, though. I changed my day to a Thursday, which I'm sure was a lesson to the chap.
I think Raymond needs some assertiveness lessons.
What, assertiveness in terms of get off my hill? He can't
just carry on running. But like, I showed him by leaving. And then changing my day, so I'll never have to see him.
I mean, that's a bit weird on the other guy's account. Like, if I got to a hill and somebody else was doing hill repeats, I'd feel a bit awkward, like just joining in.
Yeah, it'd be a little bit awkward. But I think the last time I did like proper hill repeats on a street like that was about 5 years ago, and that was the beginning of my injuries. Basically, that's when I kind of tweaked my hip flexor, and it was fucked for about 2 years then. So that's why I don't do those anymore. I just walk up hills in the woods instead.
Yeah, just go on a hilly run. Don't worry about hill repeats.
But I like a bit of pettiness. I thought this was going to be one of those messages we get often about people who steal segments on Strava and they go out there and do them again and again and again just to make sure they get to be legend. But no, this is like claiming your hill repeat hill.
Love it.
Please give us more messages of your running pettiness, please. Let's get back to talking to Nicki. So what kind of thing do you need to be prepared for in the middle of one of these big events? You know, what are the things that can go wrong that you need to be ready to deal with?
Oh my God, loads. I suppose so. If you look at long runs, the two biggest things that cause people to DNF are feet and guts.
Oh, terrific. Oh, you're in good company here then.
But they really are. So yeah, feet. I mean, it's really blisters, as long as they haven't got infected, shouldn't be a game changer, because there are ways of patching up your feet that you can push through, you know, that you'd be able to push on through, but get that right, and it's brilliant, and you can significantly reduce the pain associated with blisters. Get it wrong and things can rock up and cause further blisters. Infection, I suppose, if you're on a kind of 3+ day thing, then infection's a big deal. If you're constantly getting wet feet, you're not particularly changing socks and shoes very often, you need to watch out for that. But if you can learn, you know, how to just use bits of lint or little makeup pads to cut around the shape of a blister, and learn the basics of when you do and don't pop a blister. So if it isn't hurting, don't pop it, because if you pop it, you're opening up a hole that bugs can get in and you could have an infection. Doesn't matter if that's a short run. If you're only running for a number of hours, that's okay. But if you're running for days, then you really do want to make sure that you're not opening up any kind of portal for infection. So, and then putting, you know, KT tape or some kind of flexible sport tape around that, so that when you're running, when your foot is moving, the tape is moving with your foot and therefore more likely to stay in place. So things like that. And then guts. I don't know where to start with guts. I mean, that's like an hour chat on its own, isn't it? On its own. Guts. So just very briefly, physiologically, I think it helps to understand when you're running, you have a kind of what's the word, you trigger your fight, fright, flight mechanism. And the analogy I use is that whole mechanism of running and everything that happens in your body when you're running is, you know, from an evolutionary point of view, is from when you were running from the tiger or whatever was threatening you, and you never had to do it for long because you either got away or got eaten. And then you look at endurance runners, you know, anybody really running a marathon plus, you're way beyond that category, and you're running for a long period of time. And because preferentially when you're running, your body gives blood to your muscles in order for you to be able to run, and that takes it away from other things. And your gut is one of those things, because your gut just isn't necessary to recruit for you to run. And that means you don't really have an adequate blood supply to your gut when you're running over a long period of time. And that causes some changes and some inflammation and potentially a little bit of swelling. And it means that you then struggle to absorb. You might have the normal motility that moves things forwards in your gut slows down. So you could find that you're vomiting, you know, you take things in, but they just sit in your stomach, nothing goes anywhere. And then it comes all back out again. You've not made use of any of it. So understanding that, understanding things like, if that's getting really bad, some people find, if it's a long enough event, stopping and sleeping for half an hour, or at least just stopping, or hang back, because if you think your gut is going to cause a DNF, just if you've got the leeway from a cutoff point of view to just hang back a bit, you might find that your stomach starts to accept things again. And then, sorry, this is a really long-winded answer, but
no, that's good.
And then the whole kind of approach to saying, right, at the beginning, most people can eat whatever they want because you're fresh. But as time moves on and as you progress, you're going to want different things. You shouldn't be eating high fiber food, really. You don't want anything that's gonna, that's difficult to digest. So you want low fiber foods. You want white bread, not brown bread, for example, if you're eating sandwiches, white pasta, whatever, nothing wholemeal. And you need a massive variety. So you need proper food, in my opinion, proper food. I think trying to do it on sugars alone is a dangerous game on a really long run. Proper foods, proper meals, sandwiches, soups, that kind of thing. Well, sandwiches or meals, and then have things like soups and more fluid type of food, liquid type of food. And then towards right at the end of a run, sugars, literally gels, sugars, that sort of thing. And then this kind of sloppy stuff that we've made for Damian on his runs, which is one of his crew members is called Mark Townsend, awesome guy. He made his sort of signature dish for the latter stages is rice pudding with tinned cocktail fruit in it. Oh. And then I took that a step further this year with Damian's Pennie Way, and he had rice pudding. I put in rice, it was vegan stuff, but rice pudding, soya custard, peach jelly, and mango chunks with some juice. And honestly, and a bit of milk, and then shook it up in a great big plastic container with a wide mouth. The poor pacers, they're like, normally they're going, yeah, we'll take a bar, we'll take this. And I'm going, can you take this massive litre-sized container of slop? And then they have to carry essentially an extra kilo.
Of
but it
ultra
goes
trifle.
Literally like that, yeah.
Oh,
And
that sounds great.
Do you know what it is? And you don't have to chew it. It just goes down in a swallow, but carries with it some complex carbs that will take, that will provide you with calories for a long time. It's relatively easy to digest because it's all sloppy. It's a really good call, I think.
Yeah. Well, that perhaps leads us quite nicely into the next question I had. If someone is planning to support a friend on a long distance event, obviously not to be the same extreme as these, I don't think. What are your top tips for being good crew for your runner?
So like anything, I suppose, preparation. So if it's going to be a long run, bank your sleep. That is a thing. There is evidence to suggest you can bank some sleep before you go out, because we don't sleep any more than the runner does on these things. Know the trail if you can. That's not always possible. Know the trail. Understand exactly what it is that your runner wants. So you definitely need to talk to them beforehand. And then I always make these tables. I have to have everything really, really, really easy, like Fisher Price easy, kids easy. I make tables so that when I'm shattered, sleep deprived, haven't eaten, whatever, I can glance at it and it is blindingly obvious what I need to do at the next stop, so that you are reducing your margin of error. And then the rest of it is just about adaptability and being flexible. Sorry, the dog's come in. Adaptability and being flexible, so that when things do start to go not quite as according to plan, you can respond to that. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, a friend and I will be supporting our partners in a 50-mile race soon. So yeah, I'll be definitely be doing a bit of that. I'll be doing a bit more preparation now, I think, and having a good variety of food as well.
What is it? Where is it?
It's a 50-mile race, also known as the Beast, in mid Wales.
Oh my God, hilly.
So that sounds fun.
Lovely. So, well, there you go then. So what can I say? Just make sure you've got some custard, some rice pudding, bit of jelly.
Yeah, and a few things for them maybe as well.
Yeah, also. Yeah, that's just for you to keep going.
Oh, yeah, you need that. We also want to talk a bit about your fundraising work as well, because some of the walking and other kind of activities you've done has gone towards a lot of fundraising as well.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I appreciate an opportunity to talk about this at any point, really. This is massively close to my heart. We've got a friend who's got a young boy with a disease called Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And just really quickly, in a nutshell, it's a disease that causes your muscles to waste and become useless. And these kids start off life completely normal in terms of muscle function. And then over the years, they slowly but surely lose the use of their muscles, initially in their legs, then in their arms, and your heart is a muscle. So eventually the heart fails, and it's completely fatal at the moment. So it's principally in boys, and that's because of the way it's inherited. It's a genetic condition. And it's devastating, not just because of, from the parents' point of view, watching their child go through this unbelievably heartbreaking demise, but because the kids, they go through their teenage years. I mean, it's getting slightly better now. Things are moving forwards, but these kids, just as our kids do, who don't have these diseases, they look online at things and they realize what's happening to them. They have access to information. They know by the time they're in their teens what the future holds. So they have obviously an enormous burden in terms of mental health and the impact of realizing what's happening to them. And although it's at the moment 100% terminal, there's some pretty exciting work being done across a range of treatments, but principally gene therapy. Or in my view, gene therapy looks pretty exciting. And it's where, because it's a genetic condition, we know what gene is affected in these boys. And there's scientists have now made a shortened version, but functional enough version of the gene. And they're just at the moment in the early stages of trials trying to administer this gene in a way that's safe and effective. And broadly speaking, people in the field think that the generation of boys that currently has it will either be the last to die or the very first to survive. Right. So we just all want to go hell for leather to make it the latter, and, yes. and you know, big things on the horizon, hopefully.
Cool. Where do people find out more about that?
So we've got a Just Giving page. My family and I have been doing fundraising in all sorts of ways, walks, runs, swims, bike rides, all sorts, for the last, I think, 6 or 7 years. And there's actually, you can just Google Duchenne, so Duchenne, Duchenne, and Lygo, which is my surname, Lygo, and then it should come up. It should come up fairly early on the pages.
Fantastic. And you've raised about 70 grand so far.
Yeah, we're actually on. So yeah, we're on about 69, just shy of 69. So yeah, we need to come up with another thing to do this year. We haven't done anything yet, which is remiss. Yeah. But yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, we'll definitely look out for that. In our few minutes we have remaining for our free Zoom account, can you let us know what you think is the most bullshit thing about running?
Yeah, do you know what? I've been through so many. I've been through so many options. So initially, I was going to talk about cows because I have so many stories. Cows. I was really scared of cows before I went on the Pennie Way the first time, and I had some strategies and help to get over that, and I got to the point where I was totally comfortable. But I'm not going to lie, I've had a relapse in the last 2 days, and there are some proper bolshy cows just literally in the field next to our garden, and they've caused me to have a problem. So it was going to be that, but you know what? Given my kind of role in support and a little bit medical and all that, I've got to say, guts are the most bullshit, and they are literally shitty.
Yeah, they are.
But guts are the most bullshit thing. They cause lots of DNFs. They are an absolute pain in the ass, but it is possible to get it right. It's like repairable bullshit, but they are bullshit.
Is it? So when you were talking before about your kind of stomach kind of shuts down a little bit, your guts shut down, they don't digest food. Is that something you can get used to? You can train yourself to be better at?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. You can. So training definitely helps. So training as in just simply forget the eating bit. You can train in 2 ways. So you can train, your normal training will make it such that you don't deprive your stomach, your guts of blood in quite, I'm really not saying this very well. Right. When your normal training will eventually lead to your gut not being deprived of quite so much blood when you are running. It will become more normal, and you won't shunt quite as much away from your gut. There'll be a bit more left over for it. But also you can train to be able to eat and take in food while you're running, and that's quite important as well, to be able to eat on the move, and you therefore need to train eating on the move. Yeah. It's no good, eating, doing your run, then eating again, and then getting into your race and wondering why, when you're running, your body isn't accepting food. You've got to train eating on the move. Excellent
tip, and why I enjoy ultra training so much, because you can stop for a sandwich and a piece of cake halfway through. That's good training to me. If people want to find you, you are Nicki Lygo on Twitter, and if people scroll back, there's some really great kind of behind the scenes stuff for some of these FKT attempts as well, and hopefully there'll be a few more of those in the future as well.
Yeah. If I'm ever out, I'm a bit of a Twitter whore when it comes to chucking content out. But I think people are interested in seeing pictures of people looking a bit broken and hearing how well or how badly they're doing. So yeah, I do chuck a whole lot of stuff out when I'm out supporting people.
That's lovely. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
And we are always glad to have dogs interrupting interviews, but even more glad to have someone like Nicki with these fantastic experiences to tell us all about them. Now, if you want even more Lygo, you can listen to the Young Hearts Run Free podcast, who you may remember ran an FKT the same time we did, although theirs was twice as long. And this time they beat us to Nicki by a few weeks, but they gave her a whole hour to chat. So if you want even more, check out that episode from the beginning of June to get a little bit more. Let's have some bullshit marketing. First up, we've got the naked T/R. I don't know how you're supposed to say that out loud. Capital T / small case R. The Facebook post says, laceless equals more speed. Agility cage equals lateral stability. Liner lock insole equals no slipping. Carbon plate equals energy rebound. Knit cuff equals no debris. Achilles bolsters equals heel lock. Vibram outsole equals more traction. Designed for performance with security and comfort to match. Security.
What is this brand? Is the TR the brand, or is it what brand
I
is
think
this?
Naked is the brand, and T/R is the shoe.
Naked, not like the ones who make the cereal bar things, is it? Because
I don't think so. Maybe.
What? I've never heard of this brand, but they do have a Vibram sole, so I imagine they've got a bit of cash to like have Vibram involved and stuff. Like,
but they've also got an agility cage, so that's good.
Agility cage. I take that just means the upper, like the the upper of the shoe. Like, what is this? And it's
just the structure of the shoe.
It's the weirdest looking shoe ever. But laceless equals more speed. Don't your laces on your shoe serve a purpose? Not just in terms of like holding your foot to the shoe, but when you're running, you can tie the lace in different ways and have different tie-knits in different places.
Yeah, but think of all that drag you're getting from laces flapping around.
Oh my god, this is what this shoe. I don't mean to like offend anyone who's got this shoe. I've never seen this before in my fucking life. This shoe is whack as. Like, what the hell?
Like, a knit cuff equals no debris. Debris?
Debris from what?
What? Are you kicking down walls or something and it clears it up for you? I don't understand. Debris?
It's the most bizarre. Most bizarre shoe I've ever seen. I've never heard of that brand ever.
Well, it's the most bizarre shoe you've ever seen until you scroll down on our notes and see the next one.
Yeah. Oh my god. That is like, you know, the shoe that I'm looking at now, the next shoe, you know when you were a kid and you had like MS Paint and you drew a squiggly line and then you'd use the fill option, like squiggly lines, and then use the paint fill option to like make different colours.
Yes.
That's that shoe. I designed that shoe when I was 5 on Windows 98.
Yeah. Well, finally, we've got a shoe that extends a bridge between reality and the metaverse, which is frankly what we've all been crying out for. I like these shoes, but if only they extended a bridge between reality and the metaverse. No. What does that mean? I don't know how to describe these other than what you've just said, but we're going to have to just post them on our socials.
I mean, looking at these shoes, if any shoe was a bridge between reality and the metaverse, it would be these.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, but I somehow still think that's a good description.
Yeah. Oh,
now, just by the way, these are $1,500.
Are they actually running shoes, or are they meant to be like fashion shoes?
Honestly, no idea. The thing is, you can't tell because they're so clearly marketed at complete dickheads who think expensive is good and just don't know anything else. The description on the website doesn't explain or justify anything about them. It just says what they're made of and what kind of laces it has. It's a weird, rare case of non-marketing bullshit.
They make me feel really uncomfortable. I feel like they have torn a hole in reality in order to retrieve these shoes from another parallel universe. Like, I don't like them. They do not seem of this world.
Yeah, I think they're called like unicorn low-top sneakers. And I'm sorry we're not doing a good job of describing them, but it's very difficult. Please check our social media during this week.
I hate it.
And we'll post them because they are just that.
It gives me a really uncomfortable feeling. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's the fact that like the front and the back, there's a little gap between like the forefoot and the heel. And I don't know if that's the unicorniness of it. I don't know if it gives you like a weird paw print. I don't like how they've called it unicorn as well. It doesn't match. But then what would match this? I think unicorn just gets applied to anything that's multicoloured now, doesn't it?
I don't know, but I don't like it. They're freaking me out.
Okay, let's move on. Let's freak people out in a different way by you singing.
Is the bullshit running loose?
That tore a hole in reality.
Get some more shoes.
Just a quickie for you today, because it's a long episode already. In excellent news for horse haters like us, man has once again proven its superiority over horse, thanks to Ricky Lightfoot winning the man versus horse race in mid-Wales. This is a bizarre and amazing race that takes place every year between runners and riders over 22 muddy, hilly miles. This year there were 60 horses and 1,200 runners lined up, and usually horses smash it. And man only has a chance in terrible weather, but this year nominative determinism was the winner as Ricky Lightfoot put the horses back in their place. this is 100% a race I'll be trying to enter for next year. Can you imagine on that start line with 1,200 runners and 60 horses all running off together would be amazing.
Yeah. I mean, Jen Danger Harding has done this race before, and she said I need to do it next year with her. So, yeah, I think this is one I'm up for next year as well. I just said to her, like, do you end up being anywhere near the horses? And she's like, no, you won't. You'll be nowhere near the horses. The horses will be out in front. So that's fine with me.
Yeah, it's from a company called Green Events, and they do weird events. I just like the look of them. Their website is one of those ones. The website's shit, but in a good way. I quite like it because they also do like bog snorkeling events and stone skimming events and like a cider cycle event, something like that. But they do some really weird things like this. Obviously, Man vs. Horse is quite famous now, and actually it's not too far from us. I think entries open for Man vs. Horse in the new year, so we'll definitely keep an eye out for this one, because what great content.
Yeah, they sell out really quickly apparently. I think it's New Year's Day. Jen was telling me about it, and you got to be in there and booking it.
Okay, we will be on that one.
Yes. So Stuart, what have you got coming up next?
I've got another race.
Yay!
Oh, I've missed them so much. It's the Cosmoston Relay. It's the biggest event of our club's year. We've got 60 runners involved in a big relay event. It should be fantastic. I'll also be meeting up with potentially lots of our listeners, because the With Me Now podcast is having a meet-up in Birmingham next week, and obviously we've got lots of crossover with our listeners, and I'll be there, so I'll get to meet lots of people, probably. Sorry to everyone, there'll be no Amy, there'll be no SBC, and there'll be no William, so it'll just be me, so I might not get many people coming up and saying hello, because I know I'm the least popular one on this podcast, after you, people that aren't on it, and the dogs.
Yeah.
I'm bottom of the pile, never mind.
Well. Maybe they could ask, like, you FaceTime me or something, and I can have a quick hello.
I'll just show them photos of William.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that, as any doggo will. Amy, what are you doing?
I've got another race.
Whoa, hang on, whoa.
I know.
Two races in a year?
I know, in the space of a week. So I'm doing the Blade Runner. Now, Stuart, take it away. What is this race? Because I have no idea what I'm doing.
I believe it's set in 2049, and it's in a dystopian, futuristic city, and you have to run upside down. I haven't seen Blade Runner, so I can't really finish off that analogy. Okay. I believe it's like a race on some country lanes with some wind turbines nearby.
Oh, is that why it's called Blade Runner? I have no idea. Jen's like, let's enter this race. And I'm like, okay, it's called Blade Runner, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I'd got the name wrong then. You were taking the piss, because I have no idea. I think it's like 6 or 7 miles. You say it's on country lanes, but other than that, it's on Wednesday night. Other than that, no idea.
Yeah, it's country lanes, a little bit of trail at the end, nothing difficult. It's like, I think it's a bit of a hill up at the beginning and a good downhill finish. I remember I recorded a very quick mile at the end there, so that was fun. And you'll be quite near some wind turbines, so that's nice.
Is that legitimately why it's called the Blade Runner?
Yeah.
There's wind turbines. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's not named after the film.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. So another race. And also we're looking at doing some more, like we're looking at entering some more trail races, because we do need to train for, well, I've got like the Ridham in September, is that? I've got the Bristol Epic 8-hour race. Ooh. And then the one I'm doing with Jem, which is the Penavan one, in November. So I do need to actually train. Just a side note there, had somebody at the Black Mountains race who like pulled up next to our car and was chatting to one of the volunteers, and they were saying how they're from Bristol and stuff, and they were over in Wales a lot for work. And bless them, said we climbed up Pennie Fan. We climbed up Pennie Fan a few weeks ago. I thought, bless them.
Bloody English.
Bloody English.
Coming over here, abusing our language.
Yeah.
Their language.
Love it. So yeah, so I need to start doing some more trail runs and races, because it just ain't that shit where I live.
Yeah.
There aren't those hills where I live.
Buy some tea, Amy can buy a car.
Yeah.
If you've enjoyed this bullshit, you can visit runningisbs.com to see the show notes and the links from this episode, and the whole back catalogue, as well as links to our Patreon merch store and our social medias. Goodbye.
Bye.
What does that mean?